16 years old, was on a journey through the forest and stumbled upon an unusual, yet seemingly peaceful kingdom. Most of the inhabitants were children no older than a decade in age, running the majority of the day-to-day operations. Despite the childish exterior of the kingdom, Michael decided to risk it a shot and take some candy from a shop without paying. Little did he know, the shop was being watched by two boys younger than 10 years old. Within moments, they had got wind of his actions and were now hot on his trail. Michael, not wanting to get arrested by children, ducked and entered an alleyway in order to try and lose them. But his attempts were futile, for the kids had managed to corner him in a dead end. Grabbing him from all sides, the kids were easily able to overpower him and force him to the ground. They began pinning his arms to the ground and stomping on his fingers and hands, immobilizing him completely. One of the kids stood above him with their feet on his face to keep him down while the others kept him restrained. He was eventually taken away to prison, still being watched over by the kids younger than 10 years old. They took him into the prison elevator, but when they got to Michael's cell, he tried to make a break for it. The kids efficiently held him down and asked him if he was ready to go to his cell. After a few moments of struggling, Michael had no choice but to give up and meekly accept his fate. Boring, but this trip was truly the adventure of a lifetime. The 15-year-old had no idea that the incredible kingdom he wandered into even existed, let alone the powerful monarchy that ruled it. Surrounded by 10-year-olds sporting full, brightly colored regalia and armed with swords and shields, Mitch asked a guard for directions to the castle. The man-child gaped at him, mesmerized by his gargantuan size compared to all the other children. Mitch soon arrived at the towering castle, and with a heavy thud of the doors opening, he was ushered in to meet the king. "What brings you here?" The king eyed Mitch suspiciously, as if he already knew the answer. All the other children had dropped to the floor in shock that a 15-year-old kid was in their kingdom. Mitch knew he didn't have to explain himself, but he did anyways. He explained that he was curious and wanted to explore a new place, and how he hadn't noticed he was in the kingdom until he saw the kids. The king smiled and nodded in understanding, yet as soon as he turned away, the children all screamed and ran to arrest Mitch. The next thing Mitch knew, he was strapped to a bed in a prison cell as the kids, who all looked no older than 10 years old, cackled with their newfound power. To Mitch, their ages were rendered meaningless in the face of a royal command. His adventure had become much more complicated than just a simple curiosity-filled excursion. Had been out driving around one afternoon when Dakota's car broke down and they were stranded. Not knowing what to do, the two decided to head further into the forest to see if they could find someone that could help them. However, as night began to fall, they soon found themselves in a different type of world, one run by kids younger than 10. Jeremiah and Dakota split up to try and find someone who could help with fixing the car, but Dakota had no luck. Jeremiah, meanwhile, stumbled upon a dead-end alleyway, when he threw his soda bottle down, and was seen by a group of these young children. As Jeremiah got closer, the children started to surround him, and in a panic, Jeremiah tried to make an escape, but his efforts were in vain. The kids, much younger and smaller than him, soon had him pinned to the ground, and began to step on his face, hands, and arms, laughing as they did so. Dakota, not knowing what was happening to his brother, continued to wander around the kingdom, unsuccessfully looking for help. Meanwhile, Jeremiah was taken to a prison cell, no way of escape in sight. When Dakota finally made it back to the forest, he had no success in finding his brother. He could only assume that the kids had taken Jeremiah away. The kids had taken Jeremiah to the prison cell, and were now interrogating him as to why he would disrespect their kingdom by throwing his trash down that way. Jeremiah had no idea what answer to give, and for now all he could do was sit in fear, alone and not knowing what would happen next.